In this video, all the gear that I carry on the bike when I'm out and about for either shooting video or taking photos, this is all the gear I carry. So whatever I'm doing, whether I'm on the motorbike, on the mountain bikes, on my kayak even, I'm always looking to try and capture a memory from that event. It gives going out a sense of purpose, and also it just extends the enjoyment of that trip, because not only do I enjoy the trip itself, when I get back I then get to look at the video, the photos, edit those. It makes the trip last an awful lot longer for me. This weekend was a perfect example. All week I'd planned to go out, the weather had been reported to be great. So cold. Horrible. I got up before the sun came up. It looks like it might even rain. The sun came up at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon that day. It was grim. My fingers were frozen. Every other part of me is hypothermic. It would have been just a rubbish ride. If it does not warm up, this might get abandoned long before the drone comes out. Except halfway around, I stopped under some trees, I sheltered from the rain. I thought, this spot is beautiful. I grabbed the camera out of the bag, took a few photographs, ended up getting a great shot. If I hadn't had the gear with me, I'd never have got it. I'd just come back home. It would have been a rubbish, cold day out. I wish I'd never gone in the first place. So what am I taking on the bike? Well, first of all, on the bike, I try and take as much as possible. It's a bit different on the mountain bike and the kayak even. I can't carry quite so much gear. The good thing about the bike though, I can load it up with as much as I want, within reason. So I'm on a motorbike, obviously I've got a GoPro. So obviously I'm carrying a GoPro. Hero Black 6. I mount it up front on the bars using a RAM mount. I can put it on either side. I can also swap it across onto Jenna's bike. I've got different RAM mount points on the bike so I can put it all over the place. So I like the GoPro, but I try not to like it too much. Let me tell you the good things first of all. Obviously it can do things that just other cameras can't do. Up here at the front of the bars, on the gimbal, it is superb for filming what I'm riding through. It's also really good at capturing somebody else that I'm riding with. So if Jen's riding ahead of me, I have the GoPro mounted here. If she's riding to the side, it takes me just a second to turn it around. I can point the camera over here. I can then ride beside her and film that. I don't need to worry about pointing the camera. I just concentrate on riding in a straight line, knowing that she's in shot. I can even turn the thing completely around and film behind me. I can also just whip it off the holder and use it obviously as a regular selfie stick kind of thing. I did this in Africa recently actually, leant off the side of the bike, pointing the camera down really low, rode up behind Jen really fast. We're both flying along some gravel tracks, got some awesome shots that would have been pretty much impossible to get any other way with any other camera. I also like it for shooting photos as well. Obviously it's not a great camera. I'm carrying other cameras that are better for shooting photos, but what I do like to do is set it onto the mode where it will take a shot every 1 second, and by doing that I can then just point it either back behind me or out to the side, concentrate on riding forwards, knowing it's taking regular photographs. When I get back and edit those, one of the whatever 50, 100 that it's taken while I've been doing that will be the one that I want. So that's the things I like about the GoPro. The things I don't like are the way it tends to be used by most people. They use it for that point of view shot, either on their helmet, stuck it on their head, on a chest mount or something, and then they just ride along. There's no change of scene, there's no different angle, it's just the same shot constantly. I've done it myself. I was in Namibia 2 years ago. I stuck the camera on my head. I rode through the most amazing scenery, it was stunning. I got back and viewed that footage and it bored me to tears. So I try and stick to 2 rules when I'm doing video with the GoPro. 3-second rule, the Red Bull rule. So the 3-second rule, when I'm putting the video together, I try not to have any more than a few seconds of one shot at a time before cutting to something else. Even if it's still the same scene, I'll cut to a different angle and then cut back again. It's a real hassle. It means stopping, maybe changing the position on my bike, maybe switching the camera to Jen's bike and jumping backwards and forwards. We could spend a whole morning doing that nonsense to produce literally a few seconds of video. But that video looks so much more interesting than just the same static shot going in the same direction, no edits, no cuts. Never more than a few seconds in one go. Unless the Red Bull rule applies. If I'm in a Red Bull event, throwing myself down the side of a mountain on a bicycle, then I'm allowed to hold that shot for as long as I like. That's never going to happen, so I don't need to worry about the Red Bull rule. Last thing with the GoPro, I use the gimbal. And I love the gimbal. It keeps things rock steady, nice and simple, have no issues with it whatsoever. But I'm interested in what the new GoPro 7 is like with the image stabilization. I'm so interested. I bought one yesterday. It arrives tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be as good as the 6 on a gimbal. I'm going to test them both at the weekend side by side. I'll stick a video on YouTube comparing them. If the 7 is better, the 6 and the gimbal goes on eBay. If the 6 and the gimbal is better, the 7 goes back. GoPro have said image stabilization, gimbals are dead. I don't think it's dead just yet. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, so next on the bike is the gear that I carry in my little tank bag up front. Okay, so the tank bag sits just here. It's in a great position. I can get to it without having to even get off the bike. So it's all the stuff that I can grab. The first thing that I carry in here, I carry a point and shoot everywhere. I used to have the Sony RX100 Mark III. Everybody on YouTube raved about the Canon G7X Mark II, so I swapped it for that instead. And I do prefer it. But I try to avoid using it too much, especially if I've got the 80D. It's really tempting when I'm out and I can grab the camera from here, take a photograph and ride on, to do it with this, which is just lazy. I should just get the proper camera out the back and take the photograph with that. If it takes an extra minute or so, so what? I tend to use this for just taking snaps. I'm not taking photos with this that I'm going to think that's amazing. Stick that on Instagram, blow that up, stick it on the wall at home. And sometimes I just don't want to be lugging the big camera around if I'm going somewhere, if I'm getting off the bike, leaving the bike and hiking up to the top of a mountain to take a photo. See, even as I say that, I'm now thinking if I'm hiking up to the top of a mountain to take an amazing photograph, I'm damn well taking my proper camera. The more I think about it, I don't know why I carry this. I carry it because it's tiny, it takes up no room, and you never know when you might want it. Okay, what else is in here? The drone. I love it, but I try not to overuse it. There are times though where nothing but a drone will do. When I was in Namibia, drones were still pretty big. Too big to carry with me, I didn't take one. And Namibia is one of the most epic, expansive places on the entire planet, and you just can't capture it on the ground with any camera. I can chuck a drone up when I'm on a dog walk and make the fields at the back of my house look epic. In Namibia, it would have just been mind-blowing. I have to go back there one day with a drone to do just that. So I love the drone for getting those shots that just give a real sense of scale to wherever it is I am. So the drone's in here. It's a Mavic Air. Thing's so tiny, it's amazing. When I first got this, I just couldn't believe that palm of the hand stuff is now all you need. Absolutely love it. Still rocking its little ND filter on there from South Africa where the sun was blinding. Bags of room in my little bag for the controller. I use an old iPhone as the remote with this. My main phone when I'm out on the bike is on my pocket, not being used unless there's an emergency. If I fall off and land in a ditch somewhere, I want to be able to grab it and make a phone call and not think, oh, it's still attached to the remote control left inside my tank bag. I've also got room in here for a couple of spare batteries. It gives me an hour of flying time, which is way more than I ever need. With this thing, I just love to keep flying it simple. I'm not a great drone pilot, so the easier the flying, the better. I will stick this up and do probably just a couple of shots that are my kind of go-to shots. One is the reveal. I'll put it down low, perhaps behind a hill, and then come back up over the top of that hill and reveal what's in front of me. It's nice, I can just fly pretty much in a straight line going up. Or I like that panning tracking shot where the camera will come around and keep you central in the frame but reveal whatever's behind you. Those are two very simple shots to fly and they're easy. I do tend to shoot in 4K. Two main reasons. Firstly, I'm not shooting for long, so 4K obviously a much bigger file size, but it doesn't matter. I'm not shooting hours and hours of the stuff. The other thing I like to do is if I shoot in 4K, I can then crop into that video in post. I've got a few shots from Africa where the drone was stationary and we would ride through the shot, and I would then use a crop and move that crop across the image so it looks like the camera is actually moving around after us. It's not the case at all. The drone's sat rock still in the sky. I just move around within that 4K footage that I've got, knowing that I can zoom into that, crop into that and still have decent resolution. So I shoot in 4K to cheat. Done. Half the time when I'm using the drone, I don't even get off the bike. I'll see something that looks pretty cool, stay on the bike, throw the drone up, get my shot, bring it back, stick it back in the bag, I'm riding on. Lastly, back to the bike. I have actually before this little bag, right at the back of the bike, 2 Hero Sessions. I keep these, I use these in Namibia. These were the things that I stuck on my head, turned on and just rode around with. This one's almost been crushed a few times and has got a big dent in the back, still work perfectly, but I can't bring myself to get rid of them. They are just so useful. The batteries seem to last in them forever. People moan about the batteries on these, but I left them in my rucksack for about 3 months once, went to get them out and they were still fully charged. They're so easy to use, push and shoot. 2 GoPro Sessions will always have these fully charged and ready to go with me just in case. Okay, last of all, I have a little Manfrotto camera bag. I've actually got a much bigger Manfrotto camera bag, like a rucksack that I use if I need to take everything. So if I'm going on a multi-day trip or if I'm flying and need to pack all my gear for the flight, I'll use that. I can put my laptop in it, I can put power banks in it and all sorts. But just out for the day, this is where my ATD lives. I love this camera. It is a big lump to be carrying anywhere, let alone the back of a bike, but I just love having it available. Gimbals are amazing. This is just incredible stuff. The ATD. Every time I pack the ATD on the bike, I think, why am I taking this big lump of kit out? It's more hassle than it's worth. There is no need. And every time I find myself in a situation where I'm thinking, this is the camera to be using, I'm glad I packed it. I keep it nice and simple. I'm shooting 1080p, 30 frames per second, or when I'm inside under UK lights, 25 frames per second, to stop the flicker that you might have seen when I was using the GoPro, which is shooting at 30 frames per second. And so it does weird things with hertz and whatever. I just like having a decent camera with me, no matter what the situation. In fact, when we went to Africa recently, we came back via Dubai. We stopped for 1 night in Dubai, had my decent camera with me, stuck it against the window of the hotel, took a photograph outside. That photograph ended up on the wall of my living room. I would never have got that photograph with any other camera. I have my good camera with me. There is a saying that the best camera you can have is the camera you're holding. Absolutely agree with that. So hold the best camera you have. And that's pretty much it. I also keep in the Manfrotto bag other bits and pieces in there. I keep a spare lens. I keep things like my ND filters for the ATD and also for the drone if I need them on that. I keep things like power leads. I've got USB charging points on the bike so I can power everything up if it runs out of batteries. Odds and sods go in there. And it's a great little bag. It's got a little waterproof case to keep it from the rain. And then the memory card ran out. When you get a new one, got roped into walking the dogs. Before you know it, that was yesterday. And I'm finishing the video today. Hope you found it all useful. In a nutshell, I carry as much as possible, and the minor inconvenience of doing that is well worth the benefit of having all the gear with me and getting the decent shot when I want it. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. If you've got any comments, if there's anything else you want to know about the bikes, what gear we're carrying, where we're riding, what we've done to the bikes, all that sort of stuff, ask away. And yeah, hope you found it useful. And check back, because I'm doing the gimbal stuff today. Gimbal versus Hero 7. Gonna be interesting.